Hey guys, Zane here with another one take review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Let's Eat Grandma album, Two Ribbons. Two Ribbons is the latest album from Let's Eat Grandma, the English synth pop duo that made a pretty big dent in 2018 with their sophomore album, I'm All Ears. Two Ribbons sees the group's members, Rosa Walton and Jenny Hollingworth, evolve in many ways, more ways than one to be sure. Two Ribbons is noticeably less artsy, progressive, and even just less ambitious than their previous efforts on I'm All Ears. The aforementioned album was a very alternative listen that was just appealing enough to gain some sort of cult following that eventually grew into something larger, of course, and that was certainly helped by production from the likes of people like the late, great Sophie, as well as David Wrench, who does make a comeback here and in terms of production, but nonetheless, this is still a very less ambitious venture for Let's Eat Grandma. This is because Two Ribbons decides to take the opposite creative stance rather than being something just alternative enough that it can't exactly stray away from the mainstream, but it can't be within it either in that sort of gray area in between. It's just directly a mainstream appealing album, and songs like Watching You Go they're great songs, of course, but they actually feel like more straightforward, commercially applicable songs that could easily get plenty of rotation in modern mainstream pop radio. While those who were very enamored with the psychedelic and even post-rock at times feels that Let's Eat Grandma's a band dealt with before this record, I do think that the Walton Hollingworth duo kind of translate all of that energy that was going into creative, genre-altering kind of style and directing it towards a sense of perfectionism, which is great because that's something that's very important if you're going for this particular style of pop music, and I think it works out well for them here, and they smoothly transition into this new sound. It's in this way that both I'm All Ears and Two Ribbons can stand shoulder to shoulder as two drastically different but fantastic examples of synthesizer based pop music from the same band nonetheless, and examples of what the genre is capable of offering today, which is some really amazing work. I mean, even the instrumentation here is absolutely fantastic, and that's rare for me to say about an album that is based around synthesizer based pop music, of course. In a world where a lot of synth pop just rehashes the same ideas that have been used for decades now, Let's Eat Grandma are kind of walking the fine line between indie pop music and mainstream synth sounds, and I think it makes for a not totally unique but definitely intriguing sound overall. Plus, the layering of synths over top effects and everything like that definitely makes for a record that is not without its sense of sentimentality and even to some extent nostalgia. I mean, there's plenty of artists, songs, albums that really try to make electronic based music that you can both dance and cry to, but a lot of them fail. They end up leaning towards too much one or the other, and in a lot of examples, it sort of just ends up in this weird gray area in between where it's not super danceable, but it's not super cryable either. Let's Eat Grandma, however, proved to be one of the few that can do it well. You can easily just kind of groove to this record if you want to, but it's also a good album to just play if you're just sitting alone and it's like 2 in the morning and the sun's not out yet. It's good for both examples. Not that I listen to this album in that way, sitting alone at 2 a.m. I digress. Like any music, this isn't going to click with everybody emotionally, but I do still think that there is something to be said about the level of emotional depth that is spread out across the nearly 40-minute runtime of Let's Eat Grandma's latest effort. Beyond growing into a more commercially appealing sound, it also seems like the third album from Let's Eat Grandma sees them want to go into a more mature realm as well. This is particularly seen in Rosa Walton and Jenny Hollingworth's lyricism. While the actual topics being dealt with on Two Ribbons are initially typical at best, things about love, heartbreak, remembrance, etc., there's an undeniable sense of grace that is donned by both sides of the duo's songwriting. Further developed in this fashion is the overarching simple theme of growing up. Just as every human being must grow from child to adult, every artist must grow and either perfect their current sound, go in a different direction, or lose the touch that once made them so great. Let's Eat Grandma obviously see both the childish and dead serious factors of these themes overall, and act on them by combining them together to really create a emotionally intoxicating album that definitely creates the very nostalgic atmosphere that I mentioned before. It's really that combination of innocence and adulthood as well. with all of the catchy hooks and synths and very beautiful lyricism, this is one of those albums that I could happily call addictively emotive. Overall, Two Ribbons sees one of the most promising pop groups or projects at the moment, going in a more self-collected and commercially appealing direction. However, Let's Eat Grandma's willingness to mature and their awareness of what they're great at and what they're not definitely makes them a consistent band even when they're going in a direction that many other bands would flop if they sort of went down the same path, which is why I'm giving Two Ribbons 4.5 stars out of 5. I think this is a fantastic listen that I would highly recommend. There's just a lot that will be missed here if you don't give this one a shot. Even if you're not a huge pop fan, I still do think it's just a gorgeous record overall, and maybe even a little bit better than I'm All Ears. Maybe. Who knows? But my point still stands, 4.5 stars out of 5, and with that being said, that is the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.